All right, welcome back to the fifth lesson for polynomial chapter. We are going to be factoring simple trinomials today. Now, we all know what trinomial is, right? It's a polynomial with three terms. What's a simple trinomial? Well, simple trinomial simply means it's a trinomial that starts with x squared term, and the leading coefficient is 1 plus some x terms, middle term, I guess, bx, and then plus a constant. Okay, so b and c are just some numbers, but it starts with 1 x squared. Okay, so that's a simple trinomial. We'll look at how to factor that in a second, but before we do that, recall when we factor, we should always look for a common factor first. Okay, so here are two warm-up questions. Let's do it. Here's 12, 15, and 21. Okay, hopefully you can see the common factor there is a 3. That's x squared here, there's x, and there's no x. So there's no common factor for the variable, so 3 is our common factor. And then once we have our common factor, we can factor by simply dividing the original expression by 3. So you should get 4x squared plus 5x minus 7. And that's your first example. Second one, we got 4 and 10 or negative 10. So the common factor between those two numbers is a 2. We have x cubed and x squared. So the common factor is x squared. Again, you look because they have the same base, so you look for the smaller exponent. That's y squared, y to the 5, same base, therefore take the smaller exponent. Now, once we figure out the common factor, again, you just divide them. So 4 divided by 2 is a 2, x cubed divided by x squared is x, y squared divided by y squared is just 1. Minus 10 divided by 2 is a 5. X squared divided by x squared is just nothing. Or x to the power of 1. I mean, x to the power of 0, I guess, which is just 1. Y to the 5 divided by y squared is y cubed. And that is your answer. Okay, so that's what we did last time. Right? We took out the, we removed the common, not common denominator, the greatest common factor. Now, this is the lesson itself. Okay, so factor the simple trinomial. Again, so this is the trinomial, simple trinomial. Okay, again, it starts with x squared plus some constant times x plus a constant. Okay, so before we do that, okay, we are actually, recall factoring is opposite of expanding. So what we're going to do is we're going to first try to expand this. Okay, I know usually it's going to be like x plus some number and x plus some number. Now this time we're going to do in general a situation where it's just a and b. Again, a and b just represents two different numbers, okay? So if we expand this, we got x times x, which is x squared. X times b, that's just going to be bx. A times x, that is just 8x. Okay, again, we don't know what a is, we don't know what b is, so they are just numbers, so we're just going to write bx and 8x. And then a times b is simply ab. Now, recall these two are like terms. We can actually do something there. I am going to factor out the x. Okay? And if we factor the x, bx divided by x is b, ax divided by x is a, okay, plus ab. Now, if I rewrite this, because again, we usually write down the coefficient first, so a plus b times x, and I'm going to rewrite the order, a plus b plus ab. Now, if we compare this with that, okay, so let me rewrite this down here. Maybe I won't write x squared plus bx plus c because we already have a and b here. I'll rewrite this as x squared plus, you know what, that's fine. But I'll use capital B plus c. So what we are seeing here is that the middle coefficient is just actually the sum of a and b. And a and b we know are just these two numbers. And the constant at the end is just the product of a times b. So if we want to go backwards from here, to there, what we have to do is, well, if I can find the two numbers a and b such that a times b gives me the constant, right, because that's the constant term there, and that a plus b gives me the middle coefficient, then I can actually factor. Okay, so that's summarized here. Again, it says the product of x plus a times x plus b is a trinomial. The first term, x squared, is simply the product of x times x. this is the key right here. The coefficient of the middle term is the actual sum of a and b, right? You can see the sum a plus b gives you the middle term. Okay, the last term is simply the product of a times c. You can see here's the product, right? You multiply together and that gives you the last term. So, and these two a and b's are actually came from the question, right? That's x plus a and x plus b. So, if we want to go back from a simple trinomial to the factor form, what we have to do is to find out what these two numbers a and b's are. Okay, so let's take a look at these two examples and let's see what it means. Okay, so it says use the example above to factor the following trinomial. Again, we said that as long as we can find two numbers a times b that multiply to 12 and the same two numbers a plus b add to the middle coefficient, the coefficient of the middle term, then we can factor, because we can rewrite this as x plus a times x plus b. And we can do this because the leading coefficient is a 1. So we know it must be x times x. Okay, so that's a guarantee. And therefore, as long as we can find a and b, then we got it. Okay, so what we need to think about now is, okay, so what two numbers multiply to 12 and the same two numbers add to 7? Let's think about that. Well, what multiplied to 12, right? I guess that's the thing we need to think about. Well, 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times 6 is 12. What else? 3 times 4 is 12. And I guess we can also consider negative 1 times negative 12, negative 2 times negative 6, and negative 3 times negative 4. These are also multiplied to 12. But which combination out of these 6 actually add to 7? This is the one right here, right? This adds to negative 7, not positive 7. So this is the right combination, which means A is 3 and B is 4. Okay, A equals 3 and B equals 4. Now you might ask, well, does A have to be 3? Can A be 4 and B could be 3? Absolutely. It doesn't really matter, okay? The order in which we multiply, it doesn't matter because they multiply to 12 and they add to 7 regardless, okay? So if you want to factor this, this is simply x plus 3 times x plus 4. Okay, again, because we found out A was 3 and B is 4. Okay, now we can always, like I said earlier in the previous lesson, we can always check by expanding it. Okay, let's try it. Oh my god, what is this? Okay, x plus 3 times x plus 4. Let's try to expand this and see what happens. That's x times x. So x squared. X times 4 is 4x. We FOIL. 3 times x. 3 times 4. Combine the middle terms because they are like terms. 4 plus 3 is 7, right? That's exactly what we did here. 4 plus 3 is 7, and that's what we want, right? 7 here, and then 12. And you can see this is the same as that. Okay, so that's how you do it. We will do one more together, and then you can try some of the practice questions on your own, okay? So again, what we need to do is you got to go back to here, right? The coefficient of the middle term is the sum of a and b. The last term is the product of a and b. So here the last term is 8, so that is the product of a and b. So you're looking for two numbers multiplied to 8. And the sum of a and b, so the sum of these two same numbers should add up to the coefficient of the middle term, which is 6. Okay, so let's think about what two numbers multiply to 8 and add to 6. So again, I'll list them out. 1 times 8. Again, it could be positive or negative, right? 1 times 8 or negative 1 times negative 8. Or 2 times 4. Again, positive 2 times positive 4 or negative 2 times negative 4. And that is all the combination that multiply to 8. So I think you can see that the right combination to use here is 2 times 4 because 2 plus 4 gives you 6. And therefore, this is your A and that is your B. And finally, your final answer then is just going to be x plus 2 and x plus 4. And again, you can double check by expanding it. Okay, so let's check. X plus 2 times x plus 4. You don't have to check, but it is always nice to check to make sure you got it right, especially at beginning, right? X times 4 is 4x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4 is 8. Combine like terms, the middle ones, right here, you get 4 plus 2, which is 6x, plus 8, and you can see they are the same. Therefore, this is indeed correct. Okay, so it's your turn. There are 3 questions here for you to try. Good luck. I'll show you the answer in a bit. Okay, so this one, again, you're looking for 2 numbers multiplied to the last term, and the same 2 numbers add up to the middle term, the coefficient of the middle term. In this case, I think it's clear. It's 6 times 1 and 6 plus 1. So the answer will be x plus 6 times x plus 1. I'm not going to check. I know this is right, okay? But, you can check. Again, does it matter if you write x plus 1 first and then x plus 6? No, it doesn't, okay? So if you have that as your answer, that's perfectly okay. Okay, both of those are correct. Okay, for part B, similarly, you're looking for 2 numbers multiplied to 6, but this time, these 2 numbers add up to -5. So hopefully you found the numbers for -3 and -2, right? Those 2 numbers multiplied to 6 and add to -5. So your answer is going to be x, because that's your A and that's your B. Again, this is your A, this is your B. X minus 3 and x minus 2. That's your answer. Okay. Finally, the last one here. Same thing, looking for 2 numbers multiplied to -24. So this one a little trickier because the final product is actually negative. So you got to think about 2 numbers multiplied to -24 and add to -10. So if they multiply to -24, it means that 2 numbers must have opposite signs, right? One positive and one negative. So this time I'll do a bit more. So it's either +1, -1, and -24, +24, right? +1 times -24, or -1 times +24, or the +2 and -12, that combination, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. I think that's everything, okay? Now you're looking for 2 numbers add to -10. So hopefully you recognize the right combination is 2 and -12, okay? 2 and -12. 2 times -12 is definitely -24, and 2 plus -12 is indeed -10. So there's your A and there's your B. And finally, the final answer is x plus 2 times x minus 12. Okay, so again, factoring is the opposite operation of expanding, multiplying. So if you factor, you get this. If you expand what we have here, then you get that. You can see that's the opposite direction that it's taking, right? One is stepping one step forward, and one is taking one step backwards. Okay, one expanding is multiplying, factoring is the opposite of multiplying. Okay. Okay, so there are 4 more challenging questions here. Give it a try, I guess. You can give it a try. Why not? Okay, I'll show you in a bit. Okay, first one. Really, there isn't anything that's tricky here except that the order in which it's written is incorrect, right? Well, it's not really incorrect. It's just not by convention. You should write it in descending order for the power. So if you rewrite it like this, then you would get it right. Okay, so hopefully you saw that and you didn't put 12 here and 35 there instead. Okay, it must be written in the right order. So then I think once you have that in the right order, then you can see it's 7 and 5 is our combination here. So x plus 7 and x plus 5. Okay, so that's part A. Hopefully that one's not too bad. Okay, part B is slightly trickier because now there is y squared and there's y there. Okay, that wasn't there before. It turns out we don't actually need to worry too much. Oh, actually, there's a typo here. I don't think this is factorable unless we change this to a minus sign. My bad. Okay, let's change that to a minus sign here. Okay, so I'll fix that So hopefully you'll get the corrected version. We should be looking for two numbers multiplied to -21. Okay, -21 and add to +4. And hopefully you found the combination to be 7 and -3. Okay, so let's think about this. What is the difference between this question and the previous one? Again, there's y squared now. But think about how we got x squared. X squared came from x times x, right? And that's why we start with x and x. Think about how we get this last term. The last term is always the second term in the first set of bracket times the second term in the second set of bracket. So to get y squared, what we need to have is we need to have a y in each one of them. Okay, and now we can just do what we just learned. Okay, we found out the a and b's in this case is 7 and -3, so it's going to be x plus 7y and x minus 3y. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so even though it looks a little bit different because of the y squared and the xy here, but that's all we have to do to solve the situation here. Because if you think about this, x times 3y, that gives you the xy term, right? So the middle terms will take care of itself because that's what happened there earlier. But the y squared really came from y times y. Okay. Part C, a little trickier because it's -x squared. So what I would always tell students to do is keep your x squared term positive. Now, how do we do that? Because, I mean, it's -x squared. It's just there. How am I supposed to make it positive? Well, what we can do is we can actually factor out -1. Okay, if you factor out -1, remember, when you factor out a coefficient or a common factor, it just means that we're going to take the original expression and divide it by the common factor. I'll write down -1 here, okay? Usually you don't need to write down the 1, right? You can just write down the negative sign. But we just divide, right? -x squared divided by -1 is x squared. Positive 5x divided by -1 is -5x. Positive 6 divided by -1 is now -6. So now this looks just like what we had above, right? So we are looking for two numbers multiplied to the last term, and the same two numbers add up to the middle term. And in this case, it's going to be -6 times 1, -6 times plus 1, and that gives you the -5. And therefore, your final answer is negative sign is still there. Okay, you can't get rid of it because we factor it out. Doesn't mean it's gone. It's there still. Okay, and then we have x minus 6 because that's my a, and x plus 1. That's the value of b. Okay, here's a and there's b. Okay, so that's part C. Part D is similar again. So the first step that we should take is to to factor out the common factor. Okay, let's remove the common factor. So that's -3, -18, -27. We know we can factor out -3. That's x to the 4, x cubed, and x squared. Same base. Therefore, you take out the base, and then the smallest exponent. And now we just divide. -3x to the 4 divided by -3x squared is x squared. -18 divided by -3 is +6. X cubed divided by x squared is x. -27 divided by -3 is +9. X squared divided by x squared is just 1. Now, this looks exactly like what we had, okay, in the previous questions. So, simple trinomial, right? So we're looking for two numbers multiplied to 9 and the same two numbers add to 6. And this one is not too bad. It's just 3 times 3 is 9 and 3 plus 3 is 6. It's a perfect square. So we have -3x squared, and then we have a as 3 and b as 3 as well. So we have x plus 3 and x plus 3. Now, this is a special case, again, because these two are the same. We usually rewrite this as -3x squared times x plus 3 squared, okay, because it's x plus 3 times x plus 3, and that is your final answer. Okay, that's it for this lesson. That's factoring simple trinomial. Remember, what we have to do is we're looking for two numbers multiplied to the last term, and the same two numbers add to the middle coefficient, the coefficient of the middle term. Okay, but before we do any of those, you have to make sure that it is a simple trinomial. and that if there is a common factor, you make sure you remove the common factor first and keep your x squared term positive. Okay, that will make things a lot easier. All right, that is it for this lesson. There are some practice questions for you to try. Good luck.